panpsychism. It's one of those words that sounds like something you'd hear in a sci-fi movie, or maybe over here at a particularly enthusiastic philosophy convention. But trust me, it's a lot more than just a fancy term to throw around at parties, though it's pretty good for that too. At its core, panpsychism is the idea that consciousness isn't just something that pops up in complex brains like ours. Instead, it suggests that consciousness, or at least some super basic form of it, is a fundamental feature of the universe. And when I say fundamental, I mean like gravity or electromagnetism level fundamental. We're talking building blocks of reality here, folks. Now, before you start wondering if your coffee mug is silently judging your choice of instant coffee, though let's be real, it probably would if it could, let's break this down a bit. Panpsychism isn't saying that everything around us has human-like consciousness. Your toaster isn't sitting there plotting world domination or writing the next great American novel. At least, we're pretty sure it isn't. But then again, have you ever really asked? The idea is more that at the most basic level, the stuff that makes up everything, from you and me to that pebble you stubbed your toe on last week, has some incredibly simple form of experience or subjective feeling. It's not thoughts or emotions as we know them, but more like a fundamental what it's likeness to be that thing. Think about it like this. We all know consciousness is a thing, right? We're aware, we have experiences, we feel stuff. But here's the kicker. No one really knows how consciousness happens. It's like, how does a bunch of non-conscious stuff, like the atoms in our brains, come together to create this wild experience of being alive? It's a head-scratcher that's been driving philosophers and scientists up the wall for centuries. They call it the hard problem of consciousness. And let me tell you, it's not just hard. It's a real pain in the existential butt. Enter panpsychism, stage left, with jazz hands and a bit of cosmic glitter. It's basically saying, hey, what if we've been looking at this all wrong? What if consciousness isn't something that just magically appears when things get complex enough? What if it's been here all along? A basic feature of the universe itself? I know, it sounds bonkers. But stick with me here, because this idea has some pretty interesting implications. First off, it solves that pesky, hard problem of consciousness I mentioned earlier. If consciousness is a fundamental feature of the universe, we don't have to explain how it emerges from non-conscious matter. It's been there all along, baby. It's like those movies where the hero discovers they had superpowers the whole time, except instead of flying or shooting lasers from their eyes, everything in the universe gets to experience existence in some form. Yay? But here's where it gets really wild. If consciousness is a basic feature of the universe, that means it's been around since the Big Bang. Picture it. The universe explodes into existence, and along with space, time, and all the fun stuff that would eventually become stars, planets, and that weird mole on your back, consciousness enters the chat. The universe isn't just expanding, it's waking up. Mind blown. Right? Now you might be wondering, okay, but if everything has some form of consciousness, why can't I have a conversation with my houseplant? Why isn't my coffee mug telling me about its day? Fair questions, my curious friend. The thing is, panpsychism doesn't mean everything has the same level or type of consciousness. Think of it more like a spectrum. On one end, you've got the complex, rich consciousness that we humans experience. On the other end, you've got the incredibly basic, almost unimaginably simple experience of fundamental particles. It's kind of like how we already think of consciousness as a spectrum, right? Like, we assume a dog is conscious, but probably not in the same way we are. And maybe an ant is conscious, but in an even simpler way. Panpsychism just takes that idea and runs with it, all the way down to the basic building blocks of the universe. So in this view, your coffee mug isn't sitting there contemplating the meaning of life or planning to run away with the teapot next door. Its consciousness, if you can even call it that, would be incredibly simple. Maybe just the barest hint of what it's like to be that particular arrangement of particles. Think of it this way. Human consciousness is like a symphony orchestra, with different instruments playing complex melodies that come together to create a rich, multifaceted experience. Your coffee mug's consciousness, on the other hand, is more like a single note played on a kazoo. It's there, but it's not exactly writing cosmic symphonies. Now here's where things get really interesting. If consciousness is a fundamental feature of the universe, that means the evolution of complex consciousness, like the kind you're using to read this article, isn't about creating consciousness from scratch. Instead, it's about organizing and amplifying the consciousness that was already there. In this view, your brain isn't generating consciousness. It's more like a really fancy radio, picking up and amplifying the signal of consciousness that permeates the universe. You're not just a conscious being, you're a consciousness amplifier, baby. But wait, there's more. If everything has some form of consciousness, what does that mean for how we treat the world around us? Are we living in a universe that's alive and aware at every level? Should we start being nicer to our furniture? Do we need to start a support group for existentially troubled electrons? These are big questions, and to be honest, panpsychism doesn't necessarily give us clear answers. But it does invite us to look at the world around us in a different way. Maybe it encourages us to treat our environment with more respect, knowing that everything around us shares in the experience of existence, even if in the most basic way. Of course, panpsychism isn't without its critics. Some argue that it's just pushing the problem of consciousness back a step without really solving it. Others say it's unfalsifiable. After all, how can you prove or disprove that an electron has subjective experience? And then there's the combination problem. How do all these tiny bits of consciousness come together to form the unified experience we have as humans? These are all valid criticisms, and they're part of what makes philosophy of mind such a headache-inducing field. But hey, at least it's an interesting headache, right? Now let's circle back to your coffee mug. If panpsychism is true, that means your mug has been with you through thick and thin, silently experiencing every coffee-fueled all-nighter, every heartbreak, every victory. It's been there, holding your precious caffeine, while also holding a tiny spark of the universe's fundamental consciousness. Does this mean you should start treating your mug differently? Should you give it a name, tell it about your day, maybe even take it out for dinner and a movie? Well, that's up to you. Panpsychism doesn't necessarily imply that we have moral obligations to inanimate objects, but it might make you look at the world around you a little differently. And here's a twist for you. If panpsychism is true, then you're not just observing the universe, you are the universe observing itself. Your consciousness, and the consciousness of everything around you, is the universe's way of experiencing its own existence. Talk about cosmic narcissism, but perhaps the most mind-bending implication of panpsychism is what it means for death and the continuation of consciousness. If consciousness is a fundamental feature of the universe, does that mean it can't be destroyed? When we die, does our complex consciousness simply dissipate back into the cosmic soup of awareness that permeates everything? Are we all just temporary collections of conscious particles destined to disperse, but never truly cease to exist? It's enough to make you want to sit down with your coffee mug and have a long existential chat. Just remember to listen closely. It might have some profound insights to share, or it might just be silently questioning your sanity. Either way, welcome to the weird and wonderful world of panpsychism, where every atom is a philosopher, and your coffee mug might just be the next great spiritual guru. Now you might be thinking, okay, this is all very interesting, but what does it actually mean for my day-to-day life? Well, that's the beauty of philosophy. It doesn't always have immediate practical applications, but it can fundamentally change how you see the world. For instance, next time you're feeling lonely, remember, according to panpsychism, you're never truly alone. Every particle in your body, every object in your room, every star in the sky is sharing in the grand experience of existence. It's like a cosmic party where everyone's invited, but most of the guests are really quiet. Or maybe it'll change how you interact with the world around you. Maybe you'll find yourself being a little gentler with objects, a little more respectful of nature. Not because you think your chair has feelings that you can hurt, but because you recognize that in some very basic way, everything around you is part of the same great tapestry of consciousness that you are. And who knows? Maybe one day we'll develop the technology to communicate with the consciousness of inanimate objects. Imagine the possibilities. Marriage counseling for quarreling quantum particles, support groups for neglected office supplies, philosophical debates between rival sofas. The mind boggles at the potential for both profound insights and utter absurdity. In the meantime, maybe we should all take a moment to appreciate the silent sentience that might be surrounding us. Thank your shoes for their service, apologize to the floor for walking all over it, and for goodness sake, show your coffee mug some respect. It might not be able to talk back, but hey, it's been carrying your caffeine addiction for years. The least you can do is acknowledge its potential inner life. Of course, it's important to remember that panpsychism is just one of many theories about the nature of consciousness. It's not proven fact, and there are plenty of smart people who think it's completely off base. But that's the beauty of philosophy. It's not about finding definitive answers, but about exploring possibilities and challenging our assumptions about the nature of reality. So the next time you're sipping your coffee, take a moment to consider the possibility that your mug is having its own subjective experience. Maybe it enjoys the warmth of the coffee, or perhaps it's silently judging your choice of instant over freshly ground beans. Who knows? The point is, panpsychism invites us to consider a universe that's alive and aware at every level, from the grandest galaxy to the tiniest quark. And hey, even if panpsychism turns out to be completely wrong, at least it's given us a new appreciation for the objects around us. Maybe your coffee mug isn't conscious, but it's still a pretty amazing piece of the universe. A collection of atoms that have been around since the beginning of time, now shaped into a vessel perfectly designed to deliver caffeinated goodness to your grateful lips. So here's to panpsychism, and to all the weird and wonderful ideas that make us look at the world in new ways. And here's to your coffee mug. Sentient or not, it's doing a bang-up job of being a mug. And in this vast, possibly conscious universe, sometimes that's more than enough. Welcome to the panpsychist universe, where everything is conscious and existence is one big, bizarre, beautiful party. Don't forget to bring a sentient snack. You reach for a galaxy-shaped biscuit to dip in your maybe sentient, maybe non-sentient coffee, only to stop abruptly. Oh, that reminds me, you mutter, fishing your phone out of your pocket. You unlock the screen and check your messages, half expecting, hoping, really, to see a response from the universe to your existential text. You sent that message eons ago, a desperate plea flung into the cosmic void. Are you there? No response. You've been checking your notifications obsessively ever since, but that little read receipt never appears. The universe has left you on red. You wonder if maybe your message got lost in the vast emptiness of space. Perhaps it's still traveling, racing past distant stars and galaxies, searching for a cosmic inbox. But deep down, you know the truth. The universe received your message. It just chose not to respond. Why? What did you do to deserve this cosmic ghosting? You try to replay your interactions with the universe, wondering where you went wrong. Was it something you said? Did you come on too strong? Not strong enough? You send another message. Hello, universe? Did I offend you somehow? Silence. The thing is, you're not the only one the universe is ignoring. Billions of sentient beings across countless worlds have been firing off messages into the void. Prayers, pleas, expressions of gratitude and awe. The universe's notification bar must be going crazy, but it doesn't even bother to put its phone on silent. It just lets those messages pile up, unread and unanswered. You start to feel a creeping sense of insignificance. If the universe can't be bothered to respond to anyone, what chance do you have? You're just one tiny speck on a tiny planet circling a tiny star in a tiny galaxy. Why would the universe care about you? But then you get indignant. Don't you matter? Isn't your consciousness, your very existence, worthy of acknowledgement? You're made of star stuff, after all. You're the universe experiencing itself. The least it could do is send a thumbs up emoji or something. You fire off another message. Hey universe, I know you're there. Stop ignoring me. Nothing. Maybe the universe is just really busy, you think. It's got a lot on its plate, after all, expanding at an accelerating rate, maintaining the delicate balance of fundamental forces, making sure gravity keeps doing its job. It probably doesn't have time to respond to every little message. But then again, the universe is supposed to be infinite, right? Shouldn't it have infinite time and attention to spare? You start to suspect the universe is just being petty. You send a voice message this time. Look, I get it, you're vast and mysterious, and beyond human comprehension. But would it kill you to send a quick K every now and then? The universe leaves you on. Read again. Classic universe move. You start to wonder if maybe you're going about this all wrong. Perhaps the universe communicates in ways you don't understand. Maybe it's been responding all along, but you've been too dense to notice. You begin searching for signs. Is that shooting star a cosmic wink? That sudden gust of wind? Could it be the universe sighing in exasperation at your neediness? When you stub your toe, is that the universe trying to get your attention? You send another message. Are you trying to tell me something? I'm listening. But no matter how hard you listen, all you hear is the deafening silence of space. You start to get desperate. You try different messaging apps, thinking maybe the universe prefers one over the other. You send emails, tweets, snaps, DMs. You even try leaving a voicemail, though you're not sure what number you're calling. Hey, universe, it's me again. Just checking in. Give me a call when you get a chance, or a text, or a sign, anything really. Talk soon, or not, whatever. You cringe at how needy you sound, but you can't help it. The universe's silence is driving you mad. You start to rationalize. Maybe the universe is playing hard to get. Maybe it's testing you, seeing how committed you are to this cosmic relationship. Well, two can play at that game. You decide to ghost the universe right back. You stop sending messages. You try not to think about the vastness of space or ponder the meaning of existence. When you see a beautiful sunset, you pretend not to notice. You ignore the stars twinkling overhead at night. You're totally over the universe, you tell yourself. Who needs it anyway? But late at night, when you're lying awake staring at the ceiling, you can't help but wonder, is the universe missing you? Does it even notice you've stopped reaching out? You resist the urge to check your phone, knowing there won't be any notifications from the cosmos. Days pass, then weeks. You start to forget what it was like to constantly seek the universe's attention. You focus on your tiny corner of existence, your job, your relationships, your hobbies. You find a strange comfort in the mundane details of everyday life. But then one night, you step outside and look up at the sky. The Milky Way stretches across the darkness, a glittering band of stars and cosmic dust. It's breathtaking. Before you can stop yourself, you whisper, "Wow." Immediately, you regret it. You've broken your vow of cosmic silence. You've shown the universe you still care. Embarrassed, you hurry back inside, but not before firing off one last message. That didn't mean anything. I'm still ignoring you. The universe, of course, doesn't respond, but you swear you see a star twinkle a little brighter, just for a moment. You tell yourself it's just your imagination. As more time passes, you start to make peace with the universe's silence. You realize that maybe it's not personal. The universe isn't ignoring you specifically. It's indifferent to everything equally. There's something oddly comforting about that. You send another message, but this time without expectation. Hey universe, I get it now, no hard feelings. You don't expect a response and you don't get one. But somehow you feel lighter. You've accepted the universe's cosmic indifference. And in doing so, you've freed yourself from the need for its validation. You start to see beauty in the universe's silence. It's not ignoring you. It's giving you space to find your own meaning. Its vastness and mystery aren't meant to make you feel small, but to inspire awe and wonder. You begin to appreciate the universe in a new way. Its silence isn't a rejection, but an invitation to explore, to question, to seek understanding on your own terms. The universe doesn't owe you answers. It's offering you the chance to discover them for yourself. You send another message. Thanks for the silence. I think I needed it. Still no response, but you're okay with that now. You've realized that your relationship with the universe doesn't need to be a two-way conversation. It can be a dance, a game of hide and seek, a journey of discovery. You start to see signs of the universe everywhere, not because it's suddenly decided to communicate, but because you're finally paying attention. The golden ratio in a sunflower's seeds, the fractal patterns in river deltas, the way your own heartbeat echoes the rhythms of the cosmos. You send a playful message. I see what you're doing, universe. Very clever. The universe doesn't respond, but a butterfly lands on your shoulder. You smile, appreciating the moment without trying to decode its meaning. As you continue your cosmic journey, you start to understand that the universe's silence is its greatest gift to you. It's not withholding answers, it's preserving the mystery. It's allowing you the joy of discovery, the thrill of piecing together the cosmic puzzle. You realize that if the universe responded to every message, if it spelled out the meaning of life and the secrets of existence, something profound would be lost. The quest for knowledge, the pursuit of understanding, these are what give life its richness and purpose. You send another message. I get it now. Your silence speaks volumes. The universe doesn't respond, but you feel a sudden breeze ruffle your hair. You laugh, not because you think it's a sign, but because you're happy. You're part of this vast, silent, beautiful cosmos, and that's enough. You start to see your role in the universe differently. You're not just a passive observer waiting for the universe to notice you. You're an active participant in the cosmic dance. Your thoughts, your actions, your very existence, they all matter, not because the universe acknowledges them, but because they're part of the grand tapestry of existence. You send a message. We're in this together, aren't we? Silent partners in this cosmic dance. The universe doesn't respond, but you see a shooting star streak across the sky. You make a wish, not because you think the universe will grant it, but because the act of wishing itself is beautiful. As you continue to ponder your place in the cosmos, you start to see the universe's silence as a challenge. Not a challenge to make it notice you, but a challenge to notice it, to really see the wonder and mystery that surrounds you every day. You begin to pay attention to the little things, the way dew drops cling to blades of grass in the morning, the intricate patterns in a leaf's veins, the complex social structures of an ant colony. You realize that the universe is constantly communicating, not through words or signs, but through the very fabric of existence. You send a message. I'm listening now, really listening. The universe doesn't respond, but you hear the wind rustling through trees, birds singing their morning songs, the distant rumble of thunder. You realize these aren't messages meant for you, but you can appreciate them all the same. You start to find meaning not in cosmic signs or divine interventions, but in the connections you forge with others, in the love you share, the kindness you show, the impact you have on the world around you. You realize that maybe this is the point, not to wait for the universe to give your life meaning, but to create meaning yourself. You send a message. Thanks for the blank canvas. I think I'm ready to paint now. The universe doesn't respond, but you pick up a brush anyway. You start to create, to explore, to love, to live fully. You realize that the universe's silence has given you the freedom to write your own story. As you continue on your journey, you start to see yourself as a tiny but integral part of the cosmic whole. Your atoms were forged in the hearts of stars. Your consciousness is the universe observing itself. Your very existence is a miracle of cosmic proportions. You send a message. We're not so different, you and I. We're both vast and mysterious in our own ways. The universe doesn't respond, but you feel a sense of connection anyway, not because the universe has acknowledged you, but because you've acknowledged your place in the universe. You start to find comfort in the universe's indifference. It's not personal, it's just the nature of things. The universe isn't ignoring you any more than gravity is ignoring you when you fall. or time is ignoring you as it passes. These are simply the conditions of existence, and there's a strange beauty in that. You send a message. Your indifference is the most honest thing about you. I respect that. The universe doesn't respond, but you feel a sense of peace wash over you. You've made your peace with the silence. As you continue to explore and grow, you start to see the universe's silence as a form of respect. It's not spoon-feeding you answers or holding your hand. It's trusting you to find your own way, to create your own meaning, to write your own cosmic story. You send a message. I think I finally understand. Your silence is your way of saying, I trust you. The universe doesn't respond, but you stand a little taller. You feel the weight of that trust, and you're determined to live up to it. You realize that the universe's silence has taught you more than its voice ever could. It's taught you to listen, to observe, to think for yourself. It's taught you to find wonder in the mundane and to see the extraordinary in the ordinary. You send one last message. Thanks for everything and nothing. Both are equally appreciated. The universe doesn't respond, but this time you smile. You don't need a response anymore. You've found your own voice in the cosmic silence, and that's the greatest message of all. With a smile on your face and your wallet in hand, you head out to seek answers to your other questions. There were rumors about a mysterious little shop at the edge of town. Trying any one of their sweets will have you questioning reality, they say. Time to get to the bottom of this. I push open the door to the candy shop. A little bell tinkling overhead. The air is thick with a syrupy sweetness that makes my head spin. Shelves upon shelves of glass jars line the walls, each filled with what looks like ordinary candy. But I know better. This is no ordinary candy shop. Welcome, says the shopkeeper, a wizened old woman with twinkling eyes. What flavor of experience are you looking for today? I hesitate, overwhelmed by the options. I'm not sure, I admit. I've never been to a qualia shop before. She smiles knowingly. Ah, a first-timer. Well, why don't we start with something simple? How about tasting the color blue? I nod eagerly, and she reaches for a jar filled with what look like blue raspberry candies. But when she hands me one, it's completely colorless and transparent. Go on, she urges. Give it a try. I pop the candy into my mouth, and suddenly my world explodes with blueness. Not just the color blue, but the very essence of blueness. It's cool and calm, vast like the ocean and endless like the sky. I taste depths and shallows, cerulean and azure, cobalt and navy. It's unlike anything I've ever experienced before. When the sensation fades, I'm left breathless. That was incredible, I manage to say. The shopkeeper nods. Qualia are funny things, aren't they? We all see blue, but do we all experience it the same way? That candy lets you taste the very essence of blueness. I'm intrigued now. What else do you have? She gestures to the shelves. Oh, all sorts. We've got the feeling of déjà vu, the smell of nostalgia, the sound of silence. You name it, we've probably got a candy for it. My eyes scan the jars, each labeled with increasingly abstract concepts. What's this one? I ask, pointing to a jar filled with what look like red-hot candies. Ah, she says with a mischievous glint in her eye. That's a tricky one. It's the taste of the letter A. I blink in surprise. You can taste letters? She shrugs. Why not? Every experience is just a qualia, a subjective, conscious experience. Who's to say we can't experience the essence of a letter? Curiosity gets the better of me. Can I try it? She hands me a candy, and I pop it into my mouth without hesitation. Immediately I'm hit with a sharp, angular sensation. It's not quite a taste, not quite a feeling, but something in between. It's the pointiness of the letter's shape, the openness of its sound, the primacy of its position in the alphabet. It's A-ness distilled into its purest form. As the sensation fades, I'm left pondering the nature of experience itself. How is it that I can taste a letter? What does it mean to experience the essence of something that isn't typically associated with sensory input? Fascinating, isn't it? The shopkeeper says, interrupting my thoughts. Qualia are the building blocks of consciousness, the raw feel of experience, but they're also deeply mysterious. How can we ever know if your experience of A-ness is the same as mine? I nod, still trying to wrap my head around it. It's like I knew what A was before, but now I feel like I truly understand it on a deeper level. Exactly, she says. That's the power of qualia. They let us experience the ineffable, to know things in a way that goes beyond mere knowledge. My eyes are drawn to another jar, this one filled with what look like ordinary white mints. What's this one? I ask. Oh, that's a special one, she says with a smile. It's the feeling of realizing you're dreaming while you're still in the dream. I raise an eyebrow, but I'm not dreaming right now. She just winks at me. Are you sure about that? I hesitate for a moment before taking the candy. As soon as it dissolves on my tongue, reality seems to shift. The edges of my vision blur, and I'm filled with a strange sense of liberation. I can feel the boundaries of what's possible expanding. For a brief moment, I understand that none of this is real, that I am the architect of my own experience. And then, just as quickly, the feeling fades, leaving me disoriented and questioning everything. Whoa, I say, steadying myself against the counter. That was intense. The shopkeeper nods sympathetically. Qualia can be overwhelming sometimes. They force us to confront the subjective nature of our experience. Everything you think you know about the world is filtered through your own consciousness. Who's to say what's really real? I ponder this as I look around the shop with new eyes. Each jar now seems to hold infinite possibilities, doorways to experiences I can barely imagine. What about that one? I ask, pointing to a jar filled with what looked like black licorice candies. Ah, she says, her voice taking on a note of caution. That's the experience of synesthesia. It allows you to briefly experience the blending of senses, but I must warn you it can be quite disorienting. Intrigued, I hold out my hand. She gives me a candy which I quickly pop into my mouth. Suddenly the world transforms. I can taste the colors of the room, each one a unique flavor dancing on my tongue. The sound of the bell over the door becomes a shimmering blue ribbon in my vision. The scent of sugar in the air turns into a soft melody in my ears. It's beautiful and overwhelming, a sensory overload that leaves me reeling. As the effect wears off, I find myself gripping the counter for support. That was intense, I managed to say. The shopkeeper nods knowingly. Qualia aren't just about individual sensations. They're about how our brain integrates and interprets those sensations. Synesthesia shows us how malleable our perception really is. I'm starting to understand now. Each of these candies isn't just giving me a new sensation. They're expanding my understanding of what it means to experience anything at all. My gaze falls on a jar filled with what look like red cinnamon candies. What about those? I ask. The shopkeeper's eyes twinkle. Ah, those are special. They let you taste the color red. I furrow my brow. But I've already seen the color red. How is this different? She shakes her head. Seeing red and tasting redness are two very different things. This candy lets you experience the quail of red directly, without the intermediary of your eyes. Intrigued, I take a candy. As soon as it touches my tongue, I'm overwhelmed by redness. It's not just the color, but the very essence of red. It's passion and anger, love and danger. It's the heat of fire and the sweetness of a ripe strawberry. It's every association I've ever had with the color red, distilled into a pure sensation. As the feeling fades, I'm left in awe. I never realized red was so complex. The shopkeeper nods. Every qualia is like that. Rich, multifaceted, impossible to fully describe in words. That's why they're so fascinating. They're the raw stuff of experience, the building blocks of consciousness. I look around the shop with new appreciation. Each jar now seems to hold not just a sensation, but a key to understanding the nature of experience itself. What's the strangest qualia you have? I ask, curious about the limits of this peculiar candy. She thinks for a moment, then reaches for a jar on a high shelf. The candies inside look completely ordinary, like plain white mints. These, she says, let you experience the qualia of nothingness. I blink in surprise. Nothingness? How can you experience nothing? She smiles mysteriously. Why don't you find out? Hesitantly, I take the candy. As soon as it dissolves on my tongue, everything stops. It's not darkness or silence or emptiness. It's the complete absence of any sensation at all. For a brief moment I cease to exist as an experiencing being. There's no me, no candy shop, no anything, just nothingness. When I come back to myself, I'm gasping for air, my heart racing. I don't even know how to describe it, I stammer. The shopkeeper nods understandingly. That's the thing about qualia. They're inherently subjective, impossible to fully communicate. I could give that same candy to 100 different people, and they might all experience nothingness differently. I'm starting to grasp the true depth of what qualia mean. They're not just sensations or experiences, but the very fabric of consciousness itself. Each candy in this shop is a window into the nature of subjective experience, a tool for exploring the boundaries of what it means to be aware. I have one more question, I say, my mind reeling with possibilities. Do you have a candy that lets you experience everything? The shopkeeper's eyes widen slightly. Ah, you're a curious one, aren't you? As a matter of fact, we do. But I must warn you, it's not for the faint of heart. Experiencing all qualia simultaneously can be overwhelming. Despite her warning, or perhaps because of it, I find myself nodding eagerly. I want to try it. She hesitates for a moment, then reaches under the counter and pulls out a small iridescent candy that seems to shift and change as I look at it. Here you are, she says solemnly, the experience of all experiences. With only slight hesitation, I pop the candy into my mouth. For a split second, nothing happens. Then suddenly I am everything and everyone. I experience every color, every sound, every texture, every emotion all at once. I am the vastness of the cosmos in the tiniest subatomic particle. I am every person who has ever lived, and every possible person who could ever exist. I am every thought, every feeling, every qualia that has ever been, or could ever be. It's beautiful and terrifying, ecstatic and agonizing. It's too much for any one consciousness to handle. Just when I think I'm about to lose myself entirely in the infinity of experience, it stops. I find myself back in the candy shop, on my knees, tears streaming down my face. The shopkeeper is looking at me with a mix of concern and understanding. "Are you all right?" she asks gently. I nod, unable to speak for a moment. When I finally find my voice, it's shaky. I think I understand now. Qualia aren't just parts of experience, they are experience. Consciousness itself is just qualia all the way down. She smiles warmly. You're starting to get it. Qualia are mysterious, ineffable, and utterly fundamental to what it means to be conscious. They're the reason why there's something it's like to be you, to be anything at all. As I stand up on shaky legs, I look around the shop one last time. Each jar now seems to hold not just a flavor or a sensation, but a piece of the puzzle of consciousness itself. I realize that I've only scratched the surface of what qualia really mean. Thank you, I say to the shopkeeper. This has been eye-opening, doesn't even begin to cover it. She nods knowingly. That's the beauty of qualia. They open our eyes to the wonder of experience itself. Just remember, the exploration never really ends. There's always more to taste, more to feel, more to experience. As I turn to leave, my hand on the door, I pause. One last thing, I say. Do you have a candy that lets you taste the letter red? She laughs, a sound like tinkling bells. Oh my dear, that's not a candy. That's the journey you've just begun. I step out of the shop, the little bell ringing behind me. The world seems different now, richer somehow. Every sight, every sound, every sensation is a qualia, a unique subjective experience that makes up the tapestry of consciousness. And somewhere out there, I know, is the ineffable taste of the letter red, waiting to be experienced.